Hey there everyone. Today I just want to make a quick video going over Vena hierarchies and how you can manipulate them, what they're used for, how to export a hierarchy, how to move things around, how to rename things if I haven't already said that, and yeah, kind of everything you need to know about the actual Vena hierarchy itself. So if you look at my screen here, I have the account dimension, and there'll be other videos going over things like dimensionality, and other things regarding the data model. So this is just hierarchies for today. So I'm assuming that you have some basic background knowledge about dimensions specifically, okay? So right here we have one member in the hierarchy named default, basically an empty dimension. As soon as you make a dimension, you have to have one member in there to create it. So this is that right here. But just as an example of what a hierarchy might look like, I'll just head over here to the period dimension, just as an example here. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12 periods, all rolling up to this all periods. Now, in terms of reports, maybe you might want to pull a report that pulls in all periods, maybe not, but the real value that can be seen inside of hierarchy might be seen more so in something like entities, where you can roll up entities to different regions. So you can run a report for East, you can run a report for Boston, you can run a report for all entities, and you can break this down even further and even further. Okay, and most useful, this is definitely for accounts. So that's kind of what we're going to be going over as an example today. Okay, so just a basic note to start off with from the UI here, you can actually do some hierarchy manipulation right inside this Vena browser. Okay, so you can add sibling and add child. Okay, adding a sibling adds that member, that new member at the exact same level as the member you clicked on, right? So if we add sibling on this default, hello world, we'll see it's at that exact same level. And right there, you'll notice I just clicked enter, and Vena was already prepared to allow me to enter in a whole other member there. But I don't want to do that right now. But if we wanted to add a child, we could do that just the same way, except clicking add child. But you'll notice that it's indented a little bit, indicating that this is below our hello world. We could just say example 1, and you'll notice right there, it's beginning to establish that parent-child relationship that we're looking for inside Vena. Okay, but generally you wouldn't be going about creating big hierarchies in this way. Instead, you would use the ETL tool, which I'm going to go over right now, to upload those straight into Vena. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this for right now. All right, and I'll bring up this Excel document right here. Okay, so this is a good example of what a hierarchy import file in Vena should look like. And don't worry, you don't need to remember these headers right here. I will go over in a second how you can get that. But the real main point that we're looking for here is one column is indicating the dimension that we want to upload this hierarchy to. Another column is exclusively for the member name. Okay, so for example, if we're looking at account 1000, that's what we're going to be saving data to, and it's what's going to be unique in the hierarchy. Okay, then you have C, the alias, the name attached to it, the parent name, and this is kind of what establishes that parent-child relationship. Not kind of, but it does. So here we're saying account 1000. Okay, you roll up to total current assets, and then if you look at total current assets, this rolls up into the balance sheet. Now it's really important to note that it needs to be sequential. Okay, you'll notice right here that the balance sheet is at the very top because it's the root of all the members, right? It's the very, very top in this hierarchy example. Okay, then right below that's total assets and so forth and so forth. But now let's imagine we did something like this. If I add a row, if I do like this, 1 second, take this row, and if I were to put this right here, well, all of a sudden this would actually not be able to be uploaded to Vena. It would error out because that 1000 is created and it's looking for total current assets, but it hasn't yet been initiated inside of Vena. Okay, so the ordering is quite important here. Okay, but let's say we have all this figure. Oh, and sorry, I forgot to mention the operator right here. I'll probably make a video dedicated just to these operators, but this tells Vena how to roll up the account. For example, if you have balance sheet, total assets, total liabilities, right? And you'll notice that there's a minus here. So when we click balance sheet, and that's probably a bad naming example, but whatever, we'll just go with it. So if we inside of a report said, okay, on my row, I want to see balance sheet. Well, what it's going to do, it's going to roll up all of your total liabilities as a negative, and then all your assets as a positive, which should, of course, net out to zero, right? You also have your command, which this is specifically dedicated to this kind of ETL process, where depending on what you input here, you could do a negative or a plus. A negative indicating that I want to remove this row, and plus saying I want to add this row. Just note that you don't need to input a plus. Right now, by saying nothing, we're actually telling Vena that by default, okay, we're going to be adding all these accounts here. But if you are going to be doing some manipulation, which we'll go over in a bit here, then you would need to add those minuses and pluses. Member ID. This isn't important for the initialization of a hierarchy, but later on, just like with the command, when we're starting to manipulate hierarchies, if you want to change names around, we want to get this member ID, because this is the unique ID on the back end of the actual member. And then external ID is an ID you could save inside Vena. If, for example, this 1000 means one thing in this data model, whereas it could mean something else. I guess a better example is some consolidation account, right? You might have multiple entities, but that chart of accounts gets rolled up to, let's say, account 1000, but in the actual entity, that might be account 1005. Okay, and it's not very relevant, I would say, at all. I've never really seen this used, but if for some reason you wanted to use it, you could, but there are better ways about storing that kind of relationship and information. Okay, so now let's just say this file is done, and I will also show later on a file that could help facilitating creating this, because this can be troublesome sometimes to create. But let's just assume we got our file done, and we want to go about uploading this. Okay, well, I want to head back over into Vena. I'm going to go over to the ETL tab, and you can see I already have one here, but I will remove this. I'm going to add a template. Okay, templates inside Vena, this template manager, is how you run and operate all the different jobs or procedures inside Vena. So this might be for importing hierarchies, uploading data, adding attributes, manipulating data, all that kind of stuff is all done kind of through this main screen if you haven't seen it before. Okay, so I'm just going to call this import hierarchy. And I'm going to say, you can see a bunch of options here, but don't worry yet, don't get scared. We're just going to go file to cube indicating straight to Vena, and we're going to select a data type of hierarchy. So that's what we're uploading. Okay, we're going to add that, we're going to hit save. And then to initiate this job, we're going to click on the play button right here, run, and we're going to choose our file, which in this case was this one right here for me, and then I'm going to import it. Okay. Now, once you've clicked that button, you can head over to the ETL history as it indicates here, and you can see all the jobs history and whether they errored out, whether they've succeeded, and you'll notice here that this very first line, because it goes chronologically, is the job I've just run. You can see that it's been successful and it's been 123 rows processed. Okay, so if I head back over to my members and I head back over to account, you'll notice that all of a sudden we have, come on, making me look bad here. We have all of these accounts here now. Right, we've populated our hierarchy with our chart of accounts. Great, 1000, all this stuff. Awesome. All right, so that's the first step. But what if we've uploaded the hierarchy and we realize that, you know what? This shouldn't be account 1000. It should actually be account 1001. Okay, well in that case, you can just go in here, you can edit 1000, and you can change the member name to whatever you want. But sometimes it's not just one account. It might be 100 accounts that need to slightly change. Okay, so if that's the case, you're gonna need to head over and go to ETL, export, okay? You're gonna wanna select hierarchy, select the destination of file. You don't need to click, you can leave it as CSV, Unicode UTF-8, and just make sure you've checked off include headers and include member IDs and export. Okay, you can go ahead and export that. Head over back to the history tab here. In there, you can click on view details on the job to see the specifics of what happened there. And then click the little download button here, and that will download that export of the hierarchy for you, okay? But notice something here, that our member IDs, and this is kind of just, we need to do a little bit of a workaround here. Our member IDs, because of Excel, get truncated at the very end. You'll see that even though we were going over different members here, the member ID isn't changing. Now this is an issue if you want to do any bulk name changes while maintaining existing data. It's an issue because we don't know the actual real ID here. Okay, so what we actually need to do is we need to open up fresh Excel here. And instead of opening that file directly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to, I won't save this. I'm going to head over to data from text/CSV, and I'm going to go ahead and click that file we've just exported. Okay. In there, you'll get prompted to this Power Query kind of sub window. We're going to click Transform Data. Now, don't be scared if you haven't been here before. Okay, don't worry, we'll be out of here soon. We're going to click this Member ID column, head over to Transform, and click Format. I think you can just do lowercase. Yep, boom. Now you'll see we have all the IDs we need. Okay, once we have this, we can just go back to File. We can click Close and Load, and boom, just like that, we got our export with our real IDs. Okay, great. Now what we can do is we can isolate what we want to change. So let's say that all we want to change is just these couple accounts here, right? These few accounts right here is what we want to change. So I'll change this to maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5. There we go. Okay. Now, the tricky part is we won't be able to see the process of the data actually being maintained in these because there's no data in the actual, we have no data in the cube right now, but data is maintained this way, okay? So if I take this file, if I head back into my Vena online here, go over to the ETL page that we were just at where we uploaded our original hierarchy, click the same template here because this isn't specific to dimensions or anything, this is hierarchies in general. You could even import multiple hierarchies at once for different dimensions if you want to, but I won't go in there just yet. Now we're going to click our new file, import, okay, head over to our history, and boom, boom, we see 124. That's not right. Oh, it's sorry, it's book 1. What am I doing? Shucks. Quick access maybe. Where's book 1? Sorry. Book 1. Ay. Book 1. Okay. Let me save a copy. Book 1. Hierarchy. Upload 1. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Put it in downloads. Whatever. People are waiting. Okay. Put that over here. Now we're gonna go to our hierarchy. Hierarchy upload 1. Okay. Oh, you know what? Good catch here. I wish I did this on purpose. Okay. It's important to note that you can't upload XLSX files. They need to be actually CSVs. Okay. So we need to remember to convert this. Note that there is a little bit of a workaround if you want to go there. You know, if you really need to upload an XLSM file for some reason, more so for data than for hierarchies, I've seen this, but you can actually convert the file from XLSX to a CSV using Power Automate or some other steps if you really need to. Okay, but I convert that to CSV. Okay, it's executed. Please no errors. Awesome. 6 processed, complete. Awesome. I'm going to head back over to our modeler here. Members, account, refresh. Okay, awesome. And you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've changed all of these names while not actually changing where the data, underlying data lies. Okay, it'll all be in that same spot there. Okay, so another thing that I want to touch on here with these files is you'll notice when we exported that file from earlier, and I can go back, I'll open up the original export here. that we had just done, we actually got all the column headers that we needed if we want to do an upload. So oftentimes what we do with attributes, line item details, intersections, hierarchies, what we do is we just export an existing sample, and then we take it and just remove everything else and maintain our column structure here. And then we're good to upload anything, okay? But let's also do another test here. Let's say you want to move around. We want to move around some members, okay? And note that there's two ways of doing this, just like name changes, okay? So if you wanted to, you can come into Vena right here. You could take number 1 and you can move this anywhere within the hierarchy. Okay, you can move it below total assets if you put it right there. You could put it in total assets. You could put it in balance sheet, below default, above default, wherever you want, right? Just it's important to know as a kind of tangential point here that you might have data living right here in account 1. And if you take account 2 and put that over top of account 1, well, now all of a sudden, all the data inside of account 1 is going to be removed. Because if you don't know, intersections inside of Vena must live at the bottom level. Okay, so because that 1 is no longer a bottom level, it's a parent within the hierarchy, data can't live there anymore. So Vena kicks out. Okay, so that's an important thing to note here. So that's one way of moving things around the hierarchy inside Vena. But you could come here and you could start to leverage these commands. Okay, so let's say we want to take, this is going to be an old extract. It's fine, but when we change these assets. So let's take our other assets here as an example, okay? Okay, total assets like this. Okay, so total liability. Okay, sorry. So let's just say we have our total assets, total other assets, and they live right now under total assets. And so do all of these, and these subsequent accounts live under other assets. Okay, so let's just say we wanted to change where this lives without doing it inside of Vena because maybe there's a lot of groups we need to change. Okay, so because of these other assets, these accounts, roll up to other assets, well, they won't need to be changed because we want to put it under total liabilities. Okay, so we can just remove these actually. And now what we can do is we can take, why am I blanking here? We could take other assets and we can minus this, what we need to do, okay. We need to do this. We can copy the row. So now we're saying, okay, this is how it would go. Okay, you don't even need this member ID. So all you really need, let me make sure you can see the columns here. So we have our account dimension, we have other assets. It lives under total assets. Well, now we're gonna say we want other assets and we want it to live under total liabilities. So what we're gonna do is go over to the command, hit a minus, hit a plus here. We're going to save this. Now we're going to go back into Vena, go to our ETL, our hierarchy again. We're going to upload that, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully I'm not embarrassed by an error, and I am not, thank goodness. And don't be afraid of errors, by the way. Like it's a common thing. It's how you go about building these hierarchies. They're going to happen a lot. Okay, so now we're going to go over our total current assets. I kind of forget what I moved. Other assets is what I moved. Does that now live under total liabilities? It does. Great. And now we have all of those things under other assets that we just moved. Okay? And that maintains all of our data, like always. And so that's how you would go about moving these members around. But there also might be a use case where you want to actually maintain, and this might not be as prevalent in an account dimension, but something like entity. It's very common to have multiple entity rollups, which means that you might have one hierarchy, which is like this, segregated by region, and you might have another hierarchy that's a roll-up of the business unit or some kind of other sub-entity relationship, right? Which in that case, what we could do is we can head over to the ETL dimension, we can export go to hierarchy, file, column headers. We don't need the member IDs in this case. We can export that. Okay, export the whole hierarchy here once again. Wait, did I just? No, yeah, we have it all. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and all we need is the entity here. So I'm just going to take that. I'll copy this. I will paste it into a new tab here. So this is our current entity hierarchy, right? But we don't want to change this. We just want to manipulate it and add a new role up here. So what we might do is we might add something called, add a couple of placeholders here. Okay, and we might say main BU, or main entity, I don't know, sub entity 1, and this sub entity 1, the parent is the main entity, and maybe Boston, Chicago, NYC, maybe they all roll up into sub entity 1, so those become the parents. And then we have sub entity 2, which that sub entity 2, its parent is still the main entity, and beneath there we have Portland and San Francisco, and now we would have something like this as kind of a sub hierarchy. And this can be done inside Vena too, and I'll go over that in a second as well. But let's just take this file, save this, go back to Vena, ETL, templates, import hierarchy, choose file, the new one we just created, import that. And now completed 9 new members, great, perfect. If we head over to entity and refresh, you'll see we have now our main entity, our sub entities, and you'll notice a little atom icon right here by the alias, okay? This indicates that the member is shared within the dimension, okay? It's important to note that you want to keep these kind of separate, and that you don't want to be double counting anything. So you'll notice here that our main entity rollup is separate from our all entities rollup. That way you're not double counting Boston, Chicago, NYC, and so forth. And you can also establish these shared relationships just by right-clicking. Like if I had to right-click Boston here, I click Share Member. I can go and right-click something else. I can complete the share. Right? It's just kind of building that hierarchy out manually. Okay. Also, before I end things off here, I wanted to note how you can manually go about creating these hierarchies, because things don't always line up so nice in this relationship here. Things aren't always this clean, right? So we do have, and I'll attach this in the description here, a Vena hierarchy creator tool, which allows you to import basically a level by level structure like this, and then export out this Vena kind of hierarchy upload file, which is exactly what we would need to upload. So how it works is you have your current assets, and current assets is made up of bank, and bank is made up of a couple of accounts. This is just an example. Then you might have, I don't know, other assets, right? And this might be another set of accounts with the aliases of, I don't know. This is some random aliases, and that's kind of starting to build out what we would need to upload into Vena. So I'll attach this in the description. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you watching. If you have any other questions on Vena hierarchies, this file manipulation, just let me know, and I'll try and help the best I can. So appreciate it, and have a good day.